Hello, buddy. Today we have Ramya with us. She's a shadow work healer and a coach who helps people heal, grow, and reconnect with themselves. Let's get to know a bit more about Ramya and the work, and we'll take it from there. Before we begin, I would like to welcome Ramya to our channel and thank her very much for taking the time and speaking with us. Thank you so much, Ramya, and welcome to our channel.
Thank you so much for the kind and warm introduction, Ajay. So, I'm a shadow work healer and a narcissistic abuse coach. And I get asked a lot, what is this whole big term, narcissistic abuse? Narcissistic abuse is emotional or psychological abuse, which gets normalized in society, as that's how things are, that's how people are. So, I help people to identify what is psychological abuse, and I help them to, with tools to recover and heal from narcissistic abuse.
Ramya, please tell us, where are you from?
I'm from Chennai. I was born and brought up in Chennai, but ever since 2005, I've been in Bangalore. And my coaching practice, Activate.you, is set up in Bangalore, but I have clients across the world.
So, Ramya, you started in HR before this. Before moving into healing and coaching, what made you take that turn?
So it was more of my own personal experience, I would say, because I had a thyroid surgery back in 2018. So till then, I was working in HR. And after my surgery, I came across this fact that if you suppress your emotions, your throat chakra gets impacted, and the thyroid is in the throat chakra. So I got very intrigued and I started reading up a lot about it. And I realized that I couldn't save my thyroid. Probably through coaching, I can save other people's organs. So that's how the whole interest came about. And I did my life coaching certification and set up my practice in the year 2020. And ever since, I've been practicing as a life coach, helping people to get in touch with emotions, helping them to express emotions and to deal with it.
So, when did you first come across shadow work and what drew you to it?
So, like I said, when I started off as a coach in 2020, a lot of people who are going through psychological abuse would come to me, and we would try the usual standard ones like affirmation, setting boundaries. But what I noticed was a lot of people were repeating the same patterns. And to kind of go to the root cause and heal it, you need to go into the unconscious part of the mind. And shadow work helps you to do that because shadow work is based on this famous psychologist called Carl Jung. And it has a set of questions which help you to go to the root cause of all the emotions which are stored in the unconscious part of your mind. And then you can make changes, conscious changes there.
For someone new to it, what is covert narcissistic abuse? Ramya?
Yeah, very interesting question. Because when I say abuse, the image that comes to anybody's mind is a very aggressive person, someone who's just, just screaming, shouting, throwing things, right? But a
Yeah.
covert narcissist is someone who operates in a very different method. They come across as very vulnerable people or very kind and, very charming people, right? And you might even feel sorry for them or think that, they are very good people. But they use that mask to kind of fool you. And then they will operate from under the mask and they'll do a lot of manipulations, a lot of triangulations. They'll destroy your close relationships. So it is almost like psychological warfare. So I would say covert narcissists are really dangerous people.
So, what are some red flags people should watch out for early on?
So I would say, especially if you're dating, right? So most people say, "Oh, I have butterflies in my stomach," and they mistake it for excitement or probably chemistry. But it's actually your nervous system kind of trying to warn you that you're not safe with this person. So our body is very intuitive in terms of energy, and we sense when somebody is a very toxic person. It's not always that, that fluttering in your stomach is equivalent to, that you're with a narcissist, but it could also be that your body is trying to warn you. So I would say, that's one of the biggest red flags most people miss. So that's something you need to pay attention to. And somebody who's always very nice, very kind, doesn't mean that they're a very good person. You need to see in the long run, what are the patterns? And you also need to see whether they badmouth others to you, because if they badmouth others to you, they can badmouth you to others, right? So there's a lot of such patterns and red flags that you probably can pay attention to keep yourself safe from narcissists.
Yeah. So long back, Ramya, in my personal life, before I got married, so I don't know how many people on this channel know that I'm married. It's been some time now. So before I got married, I was speaking with one lady. So we used to speak generally and this and that and all that. And so she used to tell me that you speak with this my close relative or this person and all that. You do this, you do that. No, but something in my stomach, used to tell me. I don't know, it's covert narcissistic. What is it? But something in my stomach is telling me there's something not right about this person. So, like we were just discussing, no? So, our body gives a sign that something is wrong, something is wrong. If you listen to it or not, is another issue. But, like we just said, our body gives us signs about there's something wrong in this thing, whatever it is that you're doing.
Yeah, yeah, that's absolutely right. And I
Yeah.
think your body was warning you.
Yeah. So, why do people realize it later on only that they are in such a relationship?
Because it's a very well played game, because narcissists are master manipulators. They don't come across as, vindictive people or, very bad people. When you first come across them, you'll think they're very good people, right? And also, there's something called a love bombing stage where they go out of their way, they'll give you gifts, they'll give you a lot of attention, and you'll literally feel like you're on top of the world, and you'll feel like, oh, I just met this soulmate, right? So it's only when their
Yeah.
mask slips that you will see the reality for what it is. So that's why it's very hard to, find a narcissist and immediately know that they're a narcissist.
Exactly. So, looking back, according to you, what are those signs that people realize only later on that they had ignored?
So one of the main signs is, like I said, assuming that the person is charming, assuming that the
Yeah,
person is a victim. Some of the
mm,
narcissists are very good at playing the victim. So you might feel sorry for them. They might come and tell you sob stories, the whole world is against me. This was done to me, that was done to me. And you start, if you have a caretaking tendency or a rescuer tendency, you'll feel sorry for them. And you'll be like, oh my God, this person has gone through so much. Let me do little to help them. Right? That's how they exploit you. And that's something which is very hard to miss. The goodness in you is what they will exploit,
yeah,
and they will look at your vulnerabilities. They'll probably expose one or two vulnerabilities of their own self, and you will also start sharing your vulnerabilities, and they don't pay attention to kind of be there for you, but they do it so that they can throw it on your face when you least expect it. Or they might go to other people and make fun of you behind your back, saying that, hey,
yeah,
this person shared this with me, and they're actually
yeah,
afraid of this, right? So that's
yeah,
something you need to be very, very cautious about with narcissists.
yeah. So, when someone comes to you with doubt or self guilt or anything that they feel wrong about themselves, what is the first thing you have them see?
Yeah. So this again is a very good question, because most people who come to me, they've kind of lost their trust in their own inner voice, because the inner voice has been removed, and what has been installed in them is the voice of the narcissist. And the voice of the narcissist is always telling them, you're not good enough, you're not good enough, you're not good enough. They'll keep trying their best to please the narcissist, but they're made to feel that they're not good enough. So they come with a lot of shame, a lot of guilt, a lot of anxiety around it. So the first thing I tell them is, the voice that you're listening to right now, it's not your voice. It's probably, been implanted or installed by the narcissist. So I help them to kind of validate their own experiences and also get in touch with their own authentic inner voice. So that's the main part of healing, the whole self-awareness and getting back in touch with their own inner voice.
Good. So, according to you, why is setting boundaries so hard for many people?
So again, it's a lot of conditioning, I would say, especially for
Yeah,
girls. More than guys, it's girls who I see struggle to say no. They always want to be a good girl. They don't want to hurt elders. They don't want to say no to others. So they'll put themselves last. And yes, there are some boys also who do that, right? They put themselves last, they suppress their emotions, and boys are being told things like, boys don't cry, boys have to be strong. So they kind of keep suppressing. So they don't openly express their boundaries. They don't openly push back. So if they find that their mother or wife is crying, they feel very uncomfortable. So instead of dealing with that, discomfort, they're like, okay, okay, chalo, I just say, ठीक है, I'll just do whatever you want, right? So they're not able to hold up that, no. They're not able to be firm that, no, this is a no for me, right? I'm not saying that you need to become very rigid or inflexible, but sometimes it's also okay for you to put yourself first and say no to others.
So, apart from the other things that we have discussed about earlier, Ramya, is there anything else that you would like to tell our viewers today?
Yeah, sure. So the main thing here is, I post a lot, I talk a lot, I write a lot about narcissistic abuse. This is
Yeah.
something, sadly, in our society, we dismiss, we minimize, we invalidate. If somebody says that I have a problem with being treated this way, we tell them be the bigger person, let it go, forgive, forget, move on. It doesn't work that way. Because if somebody is saying that, someone else's behavior is toxic or someone else's behavior is hurtful, so instead of validating, we just end up minimizing and, just ignoring or telling them to keep forgiving. And when we do that, we are actually enabling abuse. We're enabling the toxic person to think that I can get away with any kind of bad behavior because nobody's going to hold me accountable. I'm not going to face any consequences. And this is something I work passionately to create awareness that there has to be consequences, right? It doesn't matter what the person says that I didn't intend to, I didn't mean it. It doesn't matter. You've hurt someone, you have to face your consequences for it. The consequences could be that the person will just walk out of your life. The consequence could be that probably, the interactions won't be as much as before, right? Whatever the consequences are, instead of fighting it, the person who's caused it should be able to take that full accountability, saying that, yes, I messed up and I will bear the consequences. And society should not, step in to protect such abusers, even though they don't come across as abusers, right? So I think it's a lot to do with karma also. You should let each person face their own soul's journey, their own soul's karmas.
Yeah.
So that is something I would like to leave the audience with. And I don't want you to feel forced to forgive someone who's hurt you. Yes, forgiveness is a big part of healing, but forgiveness is something you do for your own self so that you're not holding on to the pain. But that doesn't mean that you have to forcibly bring the toxic person back into your life. That is not forgiveness. That is more like, you're just coerced to do something that you don't want to do. And if your nervous system is telling you, I'm not safe around this person, you need to listen to that inner voice. You need to honor that intuition because I think it's like, it's there to protect us.
So if someone comes to you feeling stuck in a toxic relationship, or it just happen, someone tells you or you heard from somewhere that they feel stuck in a toxic relationship, what would you want them to remember?
That they are not alone. A lot of people go through this and it is not their fault. Even if they're made to believe that it's their fault that everything went wrong. So this is the main message I would tell these people. And also healing is possible. Seek help. Don't try to process it alone or deal with it alone. It's all right to ask for help.
I think many times society or conditioning or whatever call it, it somewhere stops us to reach out to someone on the internet or whatever we feel like asking for help. I don't know. What do you think? I think it's societal conditioning or just we want to prove to ourselves that everything is all right. What do you think it is, Ramya?
Yeah, I think it is more of societal conditioning because, at least now slowly things are changing. People are more open to reach out for mental health support. But earlier it was like, if you go for mental health therapy or coaching, they'll be like, "Pagal ho kya?" Why are you seeking mental health? This thing.
Yeah,
Why are you weak? But nowadays people
yeah,
don't look at it that way. I see that
yeah,
shift, like from 2020 to now. I see a lot of people are more open about emotions. They're open about the fact that they're not able to deal with few things on their own and they need that help. So
yeah,
that shift is good. In India also, I'm seeing a lot of people are embracing therapy and coaching,
yeah.
and that is a good thing. So I think we can change the conditioning.
Yeah, exactly. So past couple of years, I think before COVID and all that, I have noticed that in social media or people used to say if you go to a mental health coach or psychiatrist or whatever like that, people used to say like we just spoke, are you crazy? On those lines, people just say, but now it's changed. People are more
Yeah,
open to asking for help
yeah,
and things
yeah,
like that. Yeah.
yeah,
Thank you so much, Ramya, for sharing all this valuable knowledge and information with us. We wish you
yeah.
continuous success in all aspects of your life. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching this video and have a good day. And I'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much, Ramya.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah. Bye.